Right, hello. I'll just let a few more people get in before we start the stream properly as usual. And hopefully you can hear me alright, because what I've been trying to do is set up the microphone so it cuts out a bit of the fan noise in the background by messing around with sort of equalizers and things. So if it sounds really weird, I might just have to reverse it back to normal. But I'm hoping you know, how it's set up like this, it should hopefully cut out some of the fan noise in the background, but you should still be able to hear me, because as usual I've got to have like 2 different coolers on in the room because it's just trapped heat horribly. Good. Alright, so that's fine, because I was a bit worried then that it might have actually had a negative effect, because you can't really test how good that is until you start streaming and people respond to it. My next video, for those of you who are asking what the next video is, it's what filters do and do not do, because lots of people seem to get weird ideas of what filters can and can't do. So I won't say much more than that. Yeah, thank you. I only did the FAQ because you know, it seemed like a good idea, just because I get asked lots and lots of questions over and over. So if people keep asking other questions I've not thought about, I'll put them on the FAQ as well. And if people ask those questions, I'll just say, look at the FAQ. Hi, Callum, I saw you were saying in Mike's stream, weren't you, yesterday, that you were going on holiday to Italy. Is it cooler or hotter there than it is in England at the moment? Because it's 32 degrees Celsius where I am at the moment. I'll hopefully go for an hour, but I can't promise anything. It depends how sort of fast my voice wears out. Alright, cool, Mike. See you then. I'll definitely be on longer than 10 minutes anyway. But the good news is we finally started getting some rain here. It's not particularly heavy at the moment, but to the east it's very, very sort of dark, the clouds. So I'm hoping they're going to be blowing west, because if they obviously come this way, it means we'll get a lot more rain. They're blowing southwesterly, so hopefully they'll hit me. But if this lot of rain doesn't hit, we're not going to have any rain until tomorrow, potentially, and then maybe some on Sunday. Well, today's skyline, that's going to have to get added to the FAQ now, isn't it? Because I get asked that every stream. It's because people don't get distracted when I do audio streams asking stupid questions. Well, close your windows during the day if it's hotter than inside the house, and when the outside temperature is colder than inside, open the windows again. Ideally, keep multiple windows open. I don't know, because with the audio, like I said, I've put the filter on it now, so I have to see what several people say. So several people are saying it's cutting out. Are they right? You're gonna have to put up with fan noise. Just a second. Right, there we go. I've cut the noise gate out, but that means now you're gonna have to put up with much louder fan drone. If that doesn't stop it, then it's YouTube doing it, because my internet connection's fine. Yeah, saying what Fahrenheit is to me is pointless, because I have no idea what temperatures are in Fahrenheit. I use Celsius because it's a sensible measurement. Yeah, so you're only a couple of degrees hotter than us then, because it's 32 degrees where I am, but in some places in the UK today, I think they thought it was going to get to around 38 degrees potentially. Spitfire, because it was a more advanced plane, although Hurricanes actually shot down more Messerschmitts, didn't they? Yes, unfortunately, by trying to put the thing on that stops the fan noise, that actually just starts cutting out my voice as well. I've said before about the MSA Millennium, if you can get it cheap it's good, but they have a lot of the same problems the MCU2P has. Like like, why is the GSR in the picture? If enough people ask it, I'll put that on there. Well, nothing, but the government's doing distraction from failing at Brexit and completely failing internally. Yeah, cool. Hopefully you'll be able to get them back through and your luggage alright. I don't think if they were in the main suitcase that would be a problem, but you never know, do you, with all the stupid security laws. If it was a proper 3M half face mask, then yeah, that would be good enough. If it was just a dust mask, then no. Because even the dust mask with the 2 elastic bands and like the nose clip still won't actually make a very good seal because they're not made of rubber. Yeah, so that's cool where you are then in comparison, isn't it? 26.1, because I'm 6 more than that. But ideally I'd like it to be less than 20 degrees every day. Alright, hello to everybody just joining. I've already had my coffee today. I did it before starting the stream, because otherwise it goes cold, because I forget to drink it when I'm watching the stream a lot of the time, and it's cold by the time I've finished. I've got a water bottle here if my throat gets really dry, but I'm hoping that that won't happen. The original M10, I would probably rate like a 3 out of 10. The M10M would probably be like a 6 out of 10. Well, that's just me pulling numbers out my arse, but you know I don't like cheek filter masks especially anyway. The thing is, the rubber is actually quite good quality on the M10 and the straps aren't too bad. The main issue with it is it's a cheek filter mask and long since expired. Well, it depends a lot on getting the right size and your face, but the issue is the dust masks, a lot of companies and sort of health and safety sort of boards don't consider them good enough just because there's so much margin for error with them, where with an actual rubber face piece mask it will bend to your face much better, so you can be a lot sloppier with sizes and still get a good level of protection. Well, it should just let you order one. But I think lots of British stuff is banned from export, just like lots of US stuff is banned from export. Because I've had people all over Europe try and buy stuff on eBay, like S10s and things, and been told they can't buy them. So why do I have to burn more fuel to get emissions? Alright, Neopapa. Yeah, I replied to a comment you made earlier because I actually saw it, but I haven't otherwise seen you comment on this account like in a month. Alright. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's because cheek filter masks, for obvious reasons, have kind of been made redundant. Because, you know, how you can't change the filters easily, and the filters aren't very high capacity regardless. Yeah, but you do make some quite edgy comments, so it wouldn't surprise me if people have, like, reported your comments and you've been shadow banned for that reason. I will warn you now, though, that if you make some of the comments you've been making on the thing, I will definitely block you. Because I've like said before, we really don't joke on here about terrorism and stuff like that, so anybody thinking about making comments like that, I'm just going to block you straight away now if you carry on doing stuff like that. No, well, they've changed the laws of DACs now, so I don't really feel want to get a new DAC if it's even more deactivated and costs even more due to like the inflation of the price on them. Do you mean over or under the mask? Because if you wear a balaclava under a mask, it won't work. In the UK, it's 8:45 at the moment, in the evening. thing I'm going to buy next, and I've already thanked the people on Patreon because I'll cash the money out at the start of next month, is a better riot helmet. Oh, you can't wear a balaclava over a thing, so I don't know what you mean, unless you mean flash hoods, but they're not balaclavas. But I'm getting the latest edition of Riot Helmet, because I think because my one doesn't have like a mark on it, but I'm pretty sure the Riot Helmet I have would be a Mark 1. And the Mark 1 Riot Helmet, as far as I'm aware, is the one I've got. There's a Mark 2, which looks like the Mark 1 with just a slightly better visor on, and then there's the Mark 3, which looks like a better helmet. It's got a better liner in the helmet, and a better visor, and a better like mount for the visor to make it stronger. And they're only about £30, so that's what I'll probably get next, because in all likelihood the probability that you might need a Riot helmet is going up more in the UK, so I'd rather get a more comfortable one that offers better head protection than my current one. Yeah, I mean at the moment I'm fine with my overt vest. It depends how much you want to spend, because if you're willing to spend a lot more money you can get really thin sort of stab-proof clothing, which would be a lot more comfortable and you know, practical to wear. But I'd only put my stab vest on if I need it, and having an overt vest is fine. No, I've not been to the War and Peace show. GP5, it'd have to have a voice diaphragm on it, which the GP5M does, and obviously have a NATO thread. That's all you really need to do with a GP5, it's fine as it is. A very strong nerve agent, so not the Novichok thing that they're making up at the moment. Probably something like VX, because something like VX in actual reality would kill you very quickly. Although, actually, probably cyanide gas would be faster and less painful. Cyanide still causes the muscles to contract horribly, so there's not really, there's not really a nice chemical weapon to kill you, is there? I suppose fentanyl gas would probably be the nicest thing, because that's what the Russians used in that theatre siege. It was fentanyl gas, so really strong opioid gas. That's why it kills you so efficiently, even if that's by accident, that your body relaxes to the point of death if it's an opioid-based weapon, so, or knockout gas, so probably that. I started collecting gas masks years ago. I did a video specifically on that. Okay, I don't need to know what the time is in your area over and over and over again. I'm not saying that to sound like a dickhead, I'm just saying I don't see why you're spamming what the time is in Utah over and over. Right, I'm going to ask you to be... What I'm going to do is hide that comment, and I'm going to ask you to be very careful about what you say next, because I banned somebody for joking about that the other day. I'm saying, when I cover videos on chemical weapons, it's kind of, you know, I like to say like the publicly available stuff, but I get very suspicious when people start randomly saying, oh, so how good is X chemical at killing people then? You can read up on chemical weapons online if you're actually so inclined, but I'm very sort of suspicious how some people word questions on here, especially because I'm on the government watch list. The only person who's a moderator in my streams is Weapon Collector, because he watches them a lot and I've known him for years on YouTube. I can't find out much information on what Italy uses. Like, I know what a lot of the Italian World War II masks look like. So, but yeah, I really don't know what Italy uses now, because it's really hard to find the information out on it. Yeah, FP5s do fit GOST threads, I've said this over and over. FP5 filter's the thing you get if you want to fit a GOST mask with a safe filter. Yeah, but I'm specifically on it because I've done several videos on Novichok and I've had organised trolling done against those videos, so it becomes very obvious very quickly that people try and, you know, get you to slip up and say stuff. It's 30 seconds and it does tell you, because there's a little icon that swivels around when you post a comment until you can do the next one. Yeah, what bit in the side of the stream do you not understand, Neopapa, where it says we don't talk about politics? Because like I said, I think you're actually trying to get blocked on purpose now, aren't you? Like, I've spoken about Tommy Robinson quite a few times on here. I don't agree with everything he says, but he is a political prisoner. But you have a habit of bringing stuff up when we've said we're on purposely we're not going to talk about it. So you've had your warning now. Next time you do something stupid, I'm just blocking you. Now, Robinson is just a surname in the UK. Hello. Alright, to everybody just joining. Have a look at the FAQ in the side just so you don't annoy me by asking the question. I've already said, but like I'm saying, for most people, don't joke about weird political shit or sort of terrorism shit, because I'm just sort of getting on very much on edge with people doing that now. Yeah, Mask Pole FP5 filters are very good, so just get a load of them. Mask Pole do quite a few other normalised filters as well that might be good, that you might be able to get easily in Poland. Yeah, that's on the FAQ list, or it will go onto it. I wonder if it'll let me update the FAQ list right now. Just a second. There we go, that's on the list now, so you don't have to ask that question anymore. I don't know, there's loads of people with generic names like Gas Mask Reviewer, Gas Mask Reviews, so I'm not particularly sure of the channel you're talking about. I'm sure in a couple of years MP6 will start turning up on eBay, but at the moment it's only really the MP5s that are on eBay. I've listened to a couple of Sabaton things, but I've never really listened to them properly. There's quite a lot of like metal bands I've listened to a few of their tracks, but I wouldn't bother buying their albums or anything like that. Oh yeah, I can see you're commenting, Lord Tachanka, so I obviously know you're here because you're leaving a comment. There's several companies that make the Riot helmets, Firewolf. The one I've got is an Argus model, ARGUS, because they were one of the companies that made them. They made them both as police Riot helmets and private security, sort of cash carrier ones. They're fundamentally the same. Mine's got like the person's name it was issued to inside, but lots of labels have been pulled out of it, which they tend to do when they surplus them. But as I said, I'm planning on getting a Mark III one, but my current model is basically what the Mark I helmet should be from what I could gather from Google. If you search Argus Riot helmet, you'll see the one. Yeah, I already have done a video on that, Mr. Stapler. If you search, I say they're a load of crap and they'd only be good as a last-ditch mask against tear gas, and that's about it. Because they don't make an airtight seal of your face, they are not going to make give you any good protection. No, I've not listened to The Offspring. A P100 filter is the American name for a P3 filter. It protects you against lots and lots of fine particulates. But it doesn't give you 100% protection, that's why it shouldn't be called a P100 filter. And that really surprises me because Scott Safety made loads of them. I know Scott Safety is just owned by 3M now, but what you could always do if you're really struggling is buy one of those things so you can put 3M filters on a 14mm mask and then just buy a 3M P3 filter. I did a video on surviving chemical weapons as best you can so watch that. But if you're going to get shot, there's nothing you can do because you can't magically dodge bullets. Yeah, basically Firewolf. Mark 1 is the one that just has a little rubber strip along the top of the visor. The Mark 2 has like the big metal band to reinforce the top of the visor. The Mark 3 has both the metal band and a rubber strip, and just a better overall helmet shape. And the Mark 3s have the visor cut to a certain shape. They're not like a generic round shape. They are cut away where you don't need the plastic of them. So, you know, there's less like wasted plastic with a visor, and I think that increases the durability of them a bit. No, as far as I'm aware, the GSR isn't made anymore. I think there's a variant they might still make, but the GSR was pretty much just made for Britain because we cheaped out on the mask. Well, you can buy cheap RD40 organic vapor filters for pretty much any 40mm mask, and that would do that job. Don't talk about anything that's basically illegal. That's all I'm going to say. I did a video on my cool neck thing, which is pretty good, but otherwise there's not all that much that's relevant because I'm struggling a bit. If I had my way, I'd probably just sit in my car all day with the AC on, running my petrol down. I don't think I've ever bought from Military Mark. What shape's your visor, Firewolf? Is it a straight visor or is it like cut to a certain shape? Well, they'd use it with CS, yeah, because that's how they test all the masks. When you say a pilot KA, what do you mean? That if so, just get a damp cloth and rub it off if it's a mark. You've probably got a Mark 3 then. Just have a look in the inside the liner and see if it says Mark 3 anywhere. Well, we don't have dollar stores in the UK, so I can't go on a flight to America to do that. In Poundland, I don't think they'd have stuff that would work as survival kits. But Weapon Collector's done a lot of good videos on making small survival kits, so just watch that. I'm going to use one with the mace at some point again, smash some stuff up with a mace, because somebody who watches Weapon Collector's videos a lot said, could I do one where I put the Stronghold sounds of the maceman on, so I'll do a bit with a flail and the regular mace smashing stuff up. But not until the weather cools down a bit, because fuck going outside in that hot weather and working up a sweat. Very few prepping channels, because there are very few that I've found that are kind of genuine. Lots of them to me seem to be very much commercialised Hollywood kind of prepping stuff, if that makes sense, if you get what I'm on about. Well, I have a Patreon, so just support me on that. But yeah, there probably are genuine prepper channels out there, but lots of them seem to be very sell-out Hollywoody, if you know what I mean. Where it's always, let's plug the most expensive water filter system, let's plug the most expensive MREs and stuff like that. Well, it depends if it's something that wipes out crops and everything. I'm sure there'd be some strains of like rice or crops or whatever that would survive that you could carry on growing. Yeah, that's been on there ages, the Nightmare Kazoo video. I've seen that like years and years and years ago. Well, I don't know, because I've not tested an Avon FM54, so I can't say whether it's good or not. It probably is good, because it's a modern Avon mask, but can't judge it until I've seen it. I've probably heard a Canadian prepper, that doesn't mean I've watched any of his stuff. Oh, it's pretty much any of those channels that basically turn their prepping thing into a store, and then they also always plug certain products from certain companies where they're obviously paid to review them. Because then it's not really about prepping anymore, it's just a very generic outdoorsy channel plugging expensive products. What I'm saying, there probably is very genuine prepping channels still out there, it's just not, I've not seen them. But like I said, I don't fantasize about prepping non-stop, so I don't really care too much. I don't have a horse gas mask, so I can't tell you. But a lot of the horse gas masks don't use regular filters, they use massive, giant filters built into the mask. Because horses obviously need to breathe a lot of air. I've never seen an FMJ08 for a reasonable price. They've always been over £100, and I'm not spending that on a Chinese mask. It probably won't fit me. Yeah, I've did a video on using a mask from fire and smoke. Ideally, folding lock knives. Well, I mean, actually, fixed blades, to be honest. If we're talking about, you know, when the law doesn't matter, if you could just have a sheath knife on your belt, then yeah, a fixed blade. Otherwise, folding lock knives, because I always prefer a lock knife if that's an option, because it's safer to use a lock knife because it won't close on your finger, or it's harder to. No, because YouTube has banned lots of channels for hunting videos, and there's nowhere legally near me I can shoot pests anyway. Yeah, I've done videos before on military boots. For any of the people saying, do you own this, do you own that, search my channel first before asking the question. Because lots of people seem to ask stuff I've already done videos on. Oh, I'm not going to modify any of my masks, mate, to ruin them. Other channels can do that, but I wouldn't do it with mine because I'm a collector. I've never played pub, so don't ask me. We had this thing last time I did a stream. I'd say Maine, because Maine gets cold in the winter, and it's probably the closest climate you'd get to the UK, but then lots of people said, don't go to Maine because their gun laws are really bad. When I looked them up, they don't seem too bad. I mean, any state, even California, is going to be a massive improvement from the UK when it comes to gun laws, so Maine seemed fine. I mean, culturally, I'd prefer the South, somewhere like Texas or, you know, Kentucky or Louisiana or anything like that, but you know, I would not get on with the climate in those places because they have hotter summers than we do, and I hate the summers here. Let's see if you're off. Yeah, that's exactly what I was on about Richard Smith earlier. The thing where, that's why I don't trust a lot of the big prepping channels, because when they grow to a certain size it seems to be all about plugging certain products. If you want a really good practical all-round knife, there's lots of military bayonets that are designed as multi-function kind of survival tools that are hard as nails. Like AK bayonets are pretty damn good at being a multi-tool knife. Do you know which gen of M17 it is? The M17A1 I think is the rarest version, so that's probably definitely worth $65. The M17 ABC, which is the first gen, I think is quite valuable as well. The M17A2 not so much, but if you wanted to spend that on it, it's not an awful price. It's just I think you could probably get it cheaper. No, I don't know Morse code. I know what it is, but I don't know what. I don't know, like beep 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 beep. I don't know which, like what. I know you can look it up, how many beeps and lines mean things, but no, I don't know Morse code. Wow, I don't know if there's one as a better language, because in terms of that, it would be how quickly can you get your point across with the least amount of words or speaking, because that makes a language more efficient. But I can almost speak German to a bad level, but I have no hope of speaking Russian, especially because it's Cyrillic alphabet and not, you know, like Latin alphabet, whatever you call it, Greek. Wouldn't be Greek alphabet, would it? Because that would be Cyrillic Greek alphabet, I should. But you know, like Latin standard alphabet. Oh, so they changed that then? Because from what I've seen, a lot of AK, have a look, AK-74 bayonet. Lots of AK-74 bayonets coming up on Google Images of proper utility knives with a serrated edge, a blade edge, the wire cutter and everything else. So I've got an AKM bayonet, but I've seen pictures of lots of AK-74 ones that seem the exact same thing, just with a different sort of back mount. Probably depends on the generation of the bayonet and which country made it. What do you mean the current standard issue US mask is? It's the Avon M50. No, I don't have a firearms license. Because as I've said before, you can only rent guns, not own them in the UK, and I'm an enemy of the government. So, you know, they're not going to give me one. And I don't like the idea of paying loads of money, even if I got one, to have them suddenly taken away because I say something offensive online. It doesn't really matter if you're stabbed lethally with a knife, it'll kill you regardless. Serrations, I think, heal better, weirdly enough, than a blunt edge does, from what I remember, like, reading up on fighting knives. Do you mean the sounds from hell? No idea. Nobody knows if they're real or not. Well, yeah, the UK does have lots of welfare schemes, and one of the big problems in the UK is lots of people leech welfare and don't actually work, which ruins the economy. And it's like a never-ending cycle of, you know, give people welfare, they demand more money on welfare, they refuse to work. And it's also the problems you get, you know, where, I'm trying to think of a good word for it, where people essentially become dependent on welfare. I think welfare to a degree is good, but it's also like where some of the political parties will promise people more welfare money if you vote for them. So it's very much, you know, like a political arguing point, welfare, and it sadly doesn't work as intended. For the most part, anyway. If they start firing CS at everybody, and I imagine they would try and restrict gas masks, but it's nearly impossible, seeing as you can convert a paint respirator to be a CBRN mask. Yeah, I could never learn French in school for that reason, because it's, to me, it's like backwards. Like, at least for German, the sentences are structured very similar to English, and lots of the words are very similar to English. You know, it's much harder speaking it, but if you see a German sentence written down, you can kind of break down a lot of the words, and they're in the right order. Whereas with French, it's like lots of the words are totally different than the English words, and they're, you know, in the wrong part of the sentence as we'd consider it. It's in the video description, read that, Cambo, and that's a warning, because it's in the description, and as I've said, read the FAQ from now on. Cheers, Belial, or however I pronounce that. I like a lot of the nation balls. I like meme balls as well, especially like, you know, all the ANCAP balls and ones like that. I like Poland as a country as well, but that's not really anything to do with Poland ball, is it? The country of Poland, other than like the stereotypes on all of the country things. Cool, yeah, I think I normally get asked every stream where I went to in Poland when I went a couple of years ago. It was Warsaw and Krakow were the main places, but I went to quite a few of the other places as well. Gdansk, Poznan I think was one. There's a few places, I can't remember all of them I went to. I don't think Poland's actually trying to develop a space program on there, are they? I mean, if they put enough money into it, they could, but, you know, they've probably got more important things to spend their money on. Right, I'm going to give you a timeout because you keep talking about things that nobody else is discussing in the stream. Alright, see ya, Mr. Stapler. So you're not blocked, but you've got a timeout. If you carry on doing it when your timeout goes back in, then I will block you. Because quite often in these streams people keep chatting stuff that nobody else is talking about. It's not like even two people having a conversation, it's just constantly spam certain things. Well, the UK government really wouldn't surprise me if they tried it, but like I said, it'd be impossible to do, because if you know what you're doing, you can buy a paint respirator and it'll do the same thing. Like, not as effectively, but... Alright, see ya, Callum. gone quiet all of a sudden where I guess nobody wants to say anything. Hello. But as I said to the people who maybe weren't there at the beginning of the stream, I've got some FAQ things now in the description, so if you're asking anything that's in there, you'll get a bit of a warning, because like I said, it'd be nice if people read that. And also I'll have to put in there, if you want to ask a particular question, do a quick search on my channel first to see if I've mentioned anything to do with it. Yeah, you'd probably actually be a lot safer in Poland. When I was in Poland, I felt a lot safer. Same with Hungary and lots of the other places in Central Europe I've been to. But yeah, I'd recommend getting a stab and a Kevlar vest, getting some sort of helmet, especially a riot helmet, because it stops somebody throwing acid in your face. It will just be a valve, basically. When you're pressure checking it, it'll be because the valve like pushes against the other bit, making a click. Lots of masks do similar things. It's not unique to that mask. Do you mean like the Polish canteens that are for like the MP5? They seem okay. I've not had any problems with it. No, pepper spray is considered a Section 5 firearm in the UK. Totally illegal for anybody but the police to have it. I think I've mentioned this before, but there's lots of fakes of those Russian titanium helmets floating around. So I've never bothered, because I think in all likelihood you're going to get scammed ordering it unless you know you're getting it from a reliable source. And I've had lots of people on here tell me, oh, I bought one and it was only £100, and I think when people are saying that, they have been scammed, because lots of companies make reproductions specifically to sell them slightly cheaper. I don't speak well in Polish at all. No, I only wear the vest if I'm going somewhere where there's a higher crime rate and particular things. In my daily life, I never really use the Kevlar, and I've also got it in the house in case of like something violent kicks off nearby. But I don't feel the need to wear the vest in my immediate area, but when I was working in the city that I live near, I had to wear it then, because there was lots of, you know, people on the streets who were always drunk or like on drugs, threatening people for money and stuff like that. You know, you'd quite often get just fights breaking out in the roads and people like slashing each other with knives. It wasn't very nice, and there were police around as usual. I was reading on because my dad said to have a look at this, it made him laugh, that somebody got done for having a penknife on them in a busy road, but it didn't say if they'd threatened anyone first, but they got 6 months in prison for having a Swiss Army knife on them. Even though it's technically legal to have one, so I don't know if they were doing something bad with it, but it didn't mention that. Yeah, you can't own anything like that. Really, I'd advise you to buy a really bright flashlight, like a really bright torch, because that will hurt somebody if you shine it in their eyes, and it will also make it really hard for them to, you know, like accurately throw a punch at you or something like that. Self-defense is legal or illegal depending on how you look at it. You're never allowed to say you've got something on you for self-defense. If you got stopped by the police and you had like a big chunky torch on you or something like that, you never ever say it's for self-defense. You have a torch because it's dark and you want to see in the dark. You know, you have a walking stick because sometimes your leg hurts. You never say, oh, I've got this on me for self-defense, officer, because then you're going to get the law throw a shit fit at you. But there's lots of occasions where if something was used for self-defense, as long as you didn't say you had it on you for the purpose of self-defense, you might, you know, be totally cleared by the law. So, the laws are very vague and crap like that, but it's more don't dig yourself into a pit, you know. Yeah, so it's 15 years for a Section 5, actually longer than 10 years you get for a firearm illegally. That's kind of stupid if that's the case, that pepper spray is considered worse than having a illegal gun. No, but I know lots of cops have got suspended for really stupid shit. Like the cops that were sledding when there was snow using their riot shields, they got suspended even though people thought it was great. But then again, there's lots of times when the police can act irresponsibly, you know, and they should in many ways lose their jobs if they're going to just fuck about when they've got an important job to do. Personally, I'd allow firearms for private ownership just because this country's turning into a violent shithole anyway, so at least people should have the right to own the firearms and defend themselves, because criminals are going to get them no matter what, because there's things called black markets. Free speech is not allowed in the UK now. In theory it is, but if you say something that certain people don't like, you'll go to prison or get a fine. So no, there is no such thing as free speech in the UK. It depends where you are. Some countries have better self-defense laws than others, and in the US it varies a lot from state to state. I was reading as well of like stand your ground laws, castle doctrine, and some states have like duty to retreat laws, whatever they're called. I've got World War II. I've got 2 Brody helmets. I don't know if they're technically warden ones or not, or regular infantry ones. Yeah, you were saying about that, Mike. See, this is where they should get in trouble for doing shit like that, because they've got a job to do. Like, I heard there was a thing where a load of firearms officers got in shit because they were posing for pictures with their guns pointed at people. Like, yeah, if they're fucking doing that, they should lose their job. Yeah, but you're going to lose the First Amendment if you don't protect it. Like the First and Second Amendment, lots of people in America want to get rid of them. Or Switzerland. You're allowed guns in Switzerland. Communism they don't have a problem with. It's more if you say things about certain religious groups, then it will be called hate speech. I can't actually remember if I've been to Derby before. Or Derby, not sure how it's pronounced. It wouldn't surprise me if I had been there. I'm just going to see what some of the landmarks are. The Ram statue looks familiar, so maybe I have been there, but I haven't been there recently if I had been. There's lots of places I've been in the UK throughout my life, and I would not be able to tell you the names of the cities or towns. Yeah, I was pretty sure it was Derby, rather than Derby, yeah. I probably wouldn't go anywhere if there was a conventional war. It's called a Forshida F2. It's not directly an S10 copy, but it's obviously influenced by the S10. Yeah, the laws like that, Richard, make no sense, do they? Because if you're going to break the law, you're going to go, right, I'm getting a fully automatic rifle then, because why not? Because I'll get a much harsher sentence for a less lethal weapon than I will for having a bloody, like, rifle. Yeah, there's been lots of shit like that where there's been people doing pro-ISIS stuff and nothing's been said about it, and people obviously being anti-ISIS have had much harsher sentences. But the British government funded ISIS like the American government did, so that's not a surprise really, is it? I think you mean iodine pills. No, Firewolf, you're not on a timeout. I didn't put you on a timeout anyway, Firewolf. I think they should just legalise most of the drugs, to be honest, because when it's on a black market, that's worse for everybody. Just do it the same way as alcohol. Put tax on it, sell it, don't sell it to under 18s, make people aware of what they're buying, and then make them aware of laws like, you know, driving under influence. Opinions on North Korea, it's a dictatorship north of South Korea. Alright, see ya. you'll get a fucking ban, Neopappa, and you're really asking for it now because you can't. No, I'll tell you what. Because there we go, you're gone. Because you can't help yourself. Yeah, you do. He's had enough warnings, to be honest. It's weird because I think he'd been shadow banned by YouTube a while ago because he wasn't commenting on my videos for ages. Yeah, it doesn't matter who's gone. Just don't do stupid shit. Don't keep pushing your luck, and then, you know, be expected when you get banned. Because I've warned him several times that would happen, but no. As I said, I've put that in the descriptions because there are people who try their luck like that. They'll keep saying things and then like retracting it, then saying something and retracting it. I think now you'd have to look at what the EU law is, but it's welding lots of it shut, welding something in the barrel, maybe cutting a bit off. But yeah, basically welded and cut in certain places. No, I've said before lots of times, Seiko, why I wouldn't do that, because I have too many masks. I have 80 something masks and I don't have the space to get them all out. That's why I do national collection videos. Really, if you wanted to wear a mask on a bad pollen day, I'd not get a creepy looking military mask. There's no law against wearing a mask, but you kind of want to be careful how you do it. Maybe another manual labour job, hard to say. I'd have to actually look what's around in my area. But I have a feeling when I looked not too long ago, just out of interest for part-time jobs, there wasn't anything, you know, that's in great. 'Cause the problem with a lot of part-time jobs is you look them up, and then it's meant to be part-time on certain days, and when you inquire more, they want you to work more days on like really low-hour shifts, because part-time to them means work 5 days a week doing 3-hour shifts, rather than, you know, working 1 or 2 days on an 8-hour shift. I still do volunteering because I enjoy doing that, but you know, if I actually needed to go out and find a job again, I'd probably rather do something quite antisocial involving manual labour. I really wouldn't want to go back into retail again, where you have to take loads of abuse from customers and be polite to them. Don't blame me. If you go to the UK, just visit the more rural areas and you'll be fine. But don't go to London. Don't go to any of the big cities. Maybe go to Edinburgh in Scotland, but don't go to don't go to London. Probably don't go to Manchester. Don't go to Birmingham. Yeah, what you could do, get a 3M half face mask, and then get, if you want to protect your eyes, get some sort of goggles. Yeah, I've been to Plymouth. The only thing I hate about Plymouth is trying to park there and all the shitty bus lane things they've got there. That's where I had my bus lane fine from. What a bunch of nasty people in the council using the bus lane money. Yeah, there's lots of nice places you can go in the UK, so I don't want to put people off coming to the UK, and as a tourist you're not really going to get immediately thrown in prison for hate speech laws or anything like that. Just go to the nicer rural areas, don't go to the big cities. Out of interest, do you think somebody who's not from the UK could understand Geordie accents alright? I think that'd be quite interesting. Yeah, well, exactly. I always find it funny when you've got politicians that are very anti-firearms and self-defence, but then they have a team of armed bodyguards, and that's apparently okay, because their lives matter more than ours. No, I don't have a flat cap. Yeah, M65 is probably the better mask compared to that in the GP5. Right, exactly. No, I'm not the best person to ask about reenactments. There's some people who watch my videos a lot, who do a lot of the reenactment stuff, so they'd probably be the better people to ask, not me. Because I only go to reenactment stuff if it happens to be on when I'm around somewhere, like I'm going to a museum or, like, you know, a castle or whatever else, and they've got something on at the time, so that's more luck than anything. I know during, like, half term and the summer holidays is generally when they do more of that, so parents can take their kids to them. He repeatedly did things. Is that an alternative account? Because if you're using alternative accounts, then I'm just going to keep banning you. It was an enemy ship sunk during a war. And that's really all there is to it. Sadly, I've not been to New Zealand or Australia. Does anybody know what, Dimmy? Did you make a previous comment that I missed? Because I can't see one. See, a name like ISIS fighters are pussies is a name I can get behind a lot more. Yes, the M17 was used in Vietnam. No, I don't have a dosimeter pen. The only dosimeter thing I've got is that SOX combined Geiger counter and dosimeter. I'm tempted to do a video of that SOX thing where I only put it next to alpha radiation sources, show it gets reading, and then, you know, do that to annoy the people who constantly come on my videos saying, no, that Geiger counter can't read alpha radiation, even when you're showing in the video it can do it. That was the S6. Or SR6. Masked before the S10. Yeah, I agree with everybody in Russia who said that. I've said that to, like, the Russians before. We have nothing against Russian people at all, but our government is determined to use Russia as a scapegoat every time there's a problem. I think this is mostly them throwing their toys out the pram when they wanted to, you know, convert Syria or ruin Syria like they did to a lot of other Middle Eastern nations, and because that didn't happen, because Russia was backing the Syrian government, you know, Russia's become the enemy now because they couldn't win their proxy war there. Yeah, they've said stuff like that before. They said, oh, that's not a true source of alpha radiation, that's why you get a reading, even though I've said, like, the smoke alarm pretty much only releases alpha radiation. If you can get a good reading from it with a Geiger counter, you have a Geiger that reads alpha. My Geiger that reads beta and gamma only cannot get readings from radium watches or smoke alarms, but my SOX one can, so it can obviously read alpha radiation. Stauhelms are very good shapes because, for the most part, they cover the vital bits of the head, and they give good vision. There's a reason the Pasca and all the modern helmets are going back to Stauhelm shape, because it is, you know, one of the best shapes. Ideally, though, you'd want helmets which are like East German M56 shapes, because that gives you still better head protection due to the shape of them. No, I've never had any radioactive gas masks, or at least none I've checked that have been radioactive. Is that you, John Wayne? Is that me? Hello. I think it's 3A, the modern German helmet, but I've seen the modern German one been put in tests next to the Pasca and it fails more often. But again, with Kevlar, that could just be due to age and where it's been stored. No, I think there might be a lot of civil wars, but I don't think a big war is going to kick off with Russia. Favourite firearm is the L1A1 SLR. No, I've not seen a new green camo from the US Navy. I've seen they had the thing where they had a kind of multicam style camo, which wasn't multicam. Wasn't that because they went for a blue camo at one point, and then lots of sailors drowned because they'd fall into the water and nobody could see them, because, you know, giving sailors blue camouflage is probably not a good idea. Alright, see ya. Probably an East German or a Polish Cold War suit, because you can get them for not very much, and their like thick rubber suits don't really go wrong. You probably have more food in your cupboard than a lot of people do in Britain. The ones where as soon as we get a bad weather day, they're like, oh no, I have to go out to shops and risk my own life and cause a traffic accident because I didn't stock up with weeks of warning of food that there might have been a problem, so now it's everybody else's fault because I only have one slice of bread in my cupboard. Cool, yeah. I like collecting camouflage, but I don't really collect uniforms. As I've said before, I've just got an East German one for shits and giggles. But otherwise I don't collect uniforms. Yeah, well, funnily enough, Russia and lots of the Central and Eastern European countries now are the ones that are less, you know, stupid in many senses, because they realise, you know, how bad lots of these things are if you have them. Meanwhile, we have people in the West where they're going like, no, communism was great, it only killed 100 million people, let's try it again. I get asked to prep a question, I need to put that in the FAQ every stream. I have short-term prepping supplies, if you want to call it that, like food and water, for like a couple of weeks worth if there's ever an emergency, but beyond that I don't bother, particularly because I'm chronically ill. There's no point me bothering for longer on. Pretty much any mask, I need to put this on the FAQ as well. Regarding any mask I don't have, and would I like to get them in the future? If the price is right, yes. If they're lots of money, then no. I have an American M1 helmet, but it's not actually an American one, it's one of the other countries that made one. I think it might be a Norwegian copy. Don't get me started on MREs, please. I need to put that in the FAQ as well, that I have no interest in talking about MREs on here, because that gets brought up in every stream and it never stops. Yeah, you can get them on eBay. A few surplus sites that aren't eBay stock them as well. I think the famous Finnish and the famous Finnish surplus site, I can never remember the name of, stocks them as well. I'll just make videos that I want to make when I make them. Yeah, exactly. When people tell me I need to hate the Russian government, there's far less stuff Putin's doing that makes, you know, compared to the UK. The thing I always find funny is that we do jail people for political opinions now in the UK, so we have political prisoners, and then we think it's okay to comment on other countries going, oh no, they lock people up because they said something against the leader of that country. Good thing the UK is not like that. I think it was good, Trump coming to the UK. I filmed his, whatever they call it, Marine One, and one of the Ospreys flying over when they went to Blenheim Palace. I don't have a problem with Trump at all. Yeah, that's the one. Varu Strelka, however it's pronounced. They normally have lots of East German, like NBC gear in and stuff. Because everybody's got nuclear weapons, so if there was a war, it would be the end of the earth instantly. That's why I don't think there ever will be a hot war between nuclear powers. There'll be cold wars, but I think, like I've said many times, we're far more likely to see civil unrest in lots of European countries, for obvious reasons, which I won't go into because everybody should know. You know, we're far more likely to see that, I think, this century than big wars between superpowers. Flecktarn's my favourite kind of camo. Yeah, thank you for that. I've got them bookmarked, so I could have looked at the bookmark, but I can just never remember the name of it. Probably not Vladimir, because there's not any shooting ranges near me that don't shoot anything but 22 long rifle at very strict competition standards. And I'm pretty sure if you turned up with a Kevlar panel at a shooting range in the UK and said, oh, I want to see if I can shoot through this Kevlar panel, you're going to get jailed for that. Well, what do I do if there's a war? The same thing everybody else does. Die or whatever else, or fight in the war. I know you get all the funny camo patterns in the Metal Gear Solid 3 that you can put on Snake. Yeah, US Woodland is very similar to 95 DPM British Woodland. They're both exceptionally good woodland camouflages. But personally, I'd like to see a version where they replace the black in it with a very dark brown or dark green, and I think it'd be an even better camo. Okay, there's the thing I use, what's it called? Live UA map. That's something I use now and again that's quite good. That's like shows lots of events going on in the world. I've got a few homemade weapons, as in things that are legal in the UK. But I don't have anything that's illegal for obvious reasons. SHMS masks are normally like £30, $30. They're not very expensive. Hello, I'll be finishing the stream now any minute now because I've gone over the hour. My voice isn't going as quickly as I thought it would, but I still have other things to do tonight. Right, thanks for watching everybody then. As said, there is a description now on the side, so it'd be better if people check the FAQ before asking the same questions over and over and over. But otherwise, mostly a good stream. But as said, if you ask stupid things, I warn you to stop and you carry on. Expect your block.